Breaking news on two separate fronts. Pam Bondi just testified in front of Congress. She was combative and not exactly forthcoming. Separately, we lost 1 million more jobs last year than the Trump administration has copped to. Ravi will explain this to me and I guess to you since you're listening. And Trump had no idea Epstein was a bad guy until a few years ago. Except for that time a sheriff in Florida was investigating Epstein 20 years ago, and Trump told him, yeah, everybody knows about that. We'll explain how the Republicans are arguing this thing that they say never happened totally exonerates Trump. If we have time, we'll get into Republican members of Congress wanting an investigation into Bad Bunny's lyrics during the halftime show because they've apparently never heard of Google Translate, and this weird fight over a bridge Trump has suddenly decided to pick with Canada. Welcome back to the podcast for the 54% of Americans who regularly vote for progress and want to convince their friends and family members to join our majority. This is Majority 54.
Well, Jason, our Attorney General is currently testifying in front of Congress, and it is every bit as combative and nasty as you'd imagine. She has been sparring with, both some Republicans like Massey and basically every Democrat. Let's start with Massey, and let's play this first clip. Maybe not. Okay. All right. Well, Bondi and Massey have been, they are. Hold on, Jeremy. From the hearing.
From the hearing, yes, Jeremy. From the hearing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
those are the ones that aren't ready. Okay. So what this goes back to, Ravi, while he figures it out, is that it seems to be the MO, like the standard operating procedure of if you're a Trump cabinet member and you're going in front of Congress and you're testifying, you could pretty much, it's hard for you to mess up in Trump's eyes if you get in a screaming fight with a Democratic representative or senator. We remember when Kash Patel, I believe it was Kash Patel, went in front of Congress and somebody got that picture of his notepad, what he'd written on his notes to himself prior to the testimony. It was, one of them was pick good fight with Swalwell or something like that. Like that was his plan going in. Right. And so a lot of what we're seeing, and we'll see it here in this Massey clip that we're about to load, we're about to hear, is like, just, if you get in trouble, just be louder, which is kind of the MAGA thing. So here you go.
Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time.
Mr.
Chairman.
This is how this works.
Can I have my time back? Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from Kentucky.
All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So yes. I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? It's a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
Okay. And we invited you in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician. You need to
I want you to watch the video.
Mr. Chairman, please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information.
I love at the end when she's like, I'm losing. Just go to the backup weapons. Trump derangement syndrome, failed politician. Like
to a Republican.
Yeah, channeling a Truth Social, post from the president, basically.
Yeah, and the background on these redactions is they, I think it's Ro Khanna and Massey have taken the lead on this. They have been talking about issues with redactions. We'll get to Khanna in a bit, but they read on the floor of the House a couple of names that were redacted in the initial release that we got, including a high-level official in the UAE, which is relevant to our conversation last week, because this is the said government that paid $500 million into Trump's company just before they got favorable treatment on these chips that they've been trying to get shipped their way. It looks like they might have also gotten favorable treatment in this Epstein release. Now, that could just be a coincidence, but it certainly raises some questions.
That's Massey's point, right? Is she's like, hey, look, you pointed out that we, made a totally defensible, negligent error that was not at all on purpose, and we within 40 minutes. And he's like, let me get this straight. You want me to believe that this was just an accident, that you left out a very high level person in a foreign government? Like, obviously he's right that they got caught. And so they're like, well, we have nothing we can say.
Well, they kept going at it. Here's more from these two.
Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this is bigger than Watergate.
When I don't answer a question
this
the way
goes
you want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to know at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
Okay, I don't know what that had to do with that. But it was just really poor political instincts by Bondi. When you're going to pull out the whole, did you ask Garland this? I wouldn't do it with Massey, the guy who we all thought was trying to make this Biden's political problem during the Biden administration, when it turns out, to give the dude credit, he actually just cares about this.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know what I don't remember Massey from the Biden years, because he was kind of a standard anti-Biden Republican. So it's, he's kind of taken a turn. But he
was very much a Epstein guy. Like, he was very much not an Epstein, but the guy, we got to release these files guy.
Right. So yeah, it is weird. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting to see her so combative with members of her own party, and you got to imagine that if we can narrow the Senate, obviously we would love to take the Senate, but even if we just narrow it and we win back the House, there's going to be some interesting dynamics from these people who have voted for her. You think about senators. There are a handful of senators who I imagine are not going to appreciate the way that she's talking to them, who are going to have outsized roles in approving any appointees that she wants, approving U.S. attorneys that she wants, investigating her, approving appropriations. So I'm not sure this is smart long-term strategy, but she has an audience of 1. And right. He's sitting, probably watching clips of this on Fox News right now. This is her. So that was her with Massey, who's obviously a Republican. This is her with Ted Lieu, Democrat.
Former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files.
I'm reclaiming my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Chairman, please stop the clock. Stop the clock.
The legislation. This is
time.
ridiculous.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, And this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop a limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
So everybody's constantly asking, when is this Epstein stuff going to result in Trump losing the support of Trump voters? And what I think people need to understand is that it's not going to hurt him with people because they suddenly care so much about this issue, right? The strength of sort of the Trump surge politically was, and we've talked about this before, people who believe in conspiracy theories and people who their worldview is animated by the idea that the reason that they can't get ahead or the reason that things seem unfair is that there's a conspiracy against them and there are people at the top who are part of that conspiracy. And so the problem for Donald Trump presented by the Epstein files is not even the hideousness of what Epstein did and what Trump was potentially a party to. The problem they have is that their base at the end of the day understands the world through a prism of it is a conspiracy. And now these sort of evasive explanations by Bondi and Patel and Trump and everybody else on the Epstein files is just them signing up to become part of the world that is screwing them by virtue of conspiracy. And that means that those voters are either going to vote against them or stay home. And that's why Andrew Schultz and that's why Joe Rogan and all these other people are like, whoa, this is not cool. Because they were people who understood the world through the prism of they. They are screwing us. They aren't telling us things. And now Trump is part of they.
Well, you know, as I've said many, many, many times, the prime evidence of this conspiracy is the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to Club Fed, the best possible situation for a federal prisoner, and given special treatment, and that Trump has refused to rule out pardoning her or granting her clemency. That part of the conspiracy has been made all the more baffling this week as Maxwell pled the fifth under oath to Congress, and of course that was done privately. I don't know why that's private and the Clintons are going to be public, but whatever. So now you have somebody who's obstructing an investigation, refusing to give Congress testimony, but who still continues to enjoy special privileges. That seems notable. We also
it seems conspiratorial.
Yeah,
is what it seems.
Yes, and I think one of the things that Trump tends to do in a lot of these situations, like his defenders say, this was true of the Emirati money, is that they'd be like, well, it's different because he's just being transparent about it, which actually he wasn't when it comes to Emiratis, because it had to be reported on.
We know now.
Yeah, their line is though, oh, he just tells us he's corrupt and he says it, and that actually somehow is supposed to mean something to us. In this situation, you have to push people to be like, okay, are you like what frame are we using here? Are you saying that with Maxwell, Trump is just brazenly covering his own ass? Well, then you're acknowledging that he has something really bad to hide. Or do you not know? In which case, we're back to the they that you're talking about. This is an amorphous conspiracy.
The whole, this is the most transparent administration as a defense to this is a corrupt administration argument is like, look, I didn't sneak into your house and rob you at night. I burglarized you while you were at work during the day. It's like, what difference does it make?
Right. Well, you know, more evidence here on the Trump side of things. We now have learned that a former Palm Beach police chief, he allegedly got a call from Trump in 2006 where Trump said he was aware of Epstein's relations with young women, and he said, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." And this was 2006. And Jason, I think this doesn't line up with anything we've been told from Trump about what he's known about Epstein, when he's cut off that relationship. It is an interesting fact because it could be out of context, could be used by the Trump people to try to exonerate him. So I do think this is going to be a fact people are going to be hearing about a lot.
So in 2019, while Epstein was in a Manhattan jail cell, reporters asked Trump if he'd ever had any suspicions that his friend was molesting young women. He said, "No, I had no idea. I had no idea. I haven't spoken to him in many, many years." And now we find out that there's this police chief who says, no, in 2006, he was like, yeah, everybody knows about this. And this was the guy who was investigating it and was actively trying to get the U.S. attorney to bring charges about it and was frustrated that nothing seemed to be happening. So I don't know. Look, I think if you're a MAGA person, you take this thing that Trump is denying ever happened and you say, as you pointed out, look, he was trying to turn him into law enforcement from the beginning. And if you're you or me or anybody who's ever observed any of Donald Trump's behavior, you look at this and say, yeah, he was like, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm going to immediately act like I'm on the good side and I'm going to rat this dude out for the stuff that they may have been doing together. So that's certainly what it looks like to me, especially given the fact that he then spent 13 years pretending he had never heard about any of this.
Well, and let's just be clear here. This just tells us he knew about it in 2006. It doesn't tell us he first knew about it in 2006.
Right.
We have other evidence, Trump on tape talking about.
To your point, in 2006, what he allegedly said is everybody knows about this,
right?
And it's been going on a long time.
Well, and we have other things from Trump. The birthday note. We have him on tape saying he likes them young. So Lord knows what else is in the files they haven't shared with us. So we have that information. Now, the Trump administration is faced with a bit of a dilemma here. They can just own the call and try to use it to their advantage, or they can discredit the call. It seems like they're trying to do both. Let's go to the clip of the press secretary.
My two questions are, did that conversation with Palm Beach Police Chief happen? And can you explain the discrepancy?
What I will say is that the president has always remained consistent and that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club at Mar-a-Lago because, frankly, Jeffrey Epstein was a creep. And unlike many other people who are named in these files, President Trump cut off his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and was honest and transparent about that for years and years. And so I think what the president has said all along has always remained true. And the release of more than 3 million documents related to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous, disgusting crimes just shows the level of transparency that this president and administration has committed to in bringing these files to light.
But did he call the chief in 2006? Caroline, did he call the chief?
Look, it was a phone call that may or may not have happened in 2006. I don't know the answer to that question. What I'm telling you is that what President Trump has always said is that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club because Jeffrey Epstein was a creep, and that remains true. And this call, if it did happen, corroborates exactly what President Trump has said from the beginning. And I'm sure many of you, when you read that alleged FBI report, probably thought to yourself, wow, this really cracks our narrative that we've been trying to push about this president for many years. So we're moving on from that.
Okay, so for those keeping score at home, here's what she's saying. In 2003, Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep and being engaged in this kind of creepy behavior. In 2006, he may or may not have known about Epstein's behavior and told a sheriff. And in 2019, when Epstein was sitting in jail and Trump was asked, did you know about any of this? His answer was, no, I had no idea. But the fact that he kicked him out in 2003 for doing this kind of stuff proves that he didn't do this kind of stuff.
I mean, all those, obviously a lot of contradictions there. FBI is saying they can't corroborate the call. So you also have the fact that there's a lot of reporting that Trump's relationship with Epstein ended in 2007, so a year after this call, over a dispute over land, right? So if that's the version of events that turns out to be true, then we have a year even after this call, right? And again, I don't even believe that this is when he learned. Again, like he knew well before this phone call how much of a creep Epstein was. Like that much we could be pretty certain about.
All I know is that Trump's version of events doesn't make any sense unless it ends with, and I used my time traveling DeLorean to do it.
Yeah. Well, somebody else's whose version of events is breaking down is Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who has distanced himself from his one-time neighbor and acquaintance or friend, Jeffrey Epstein. In a podcast interview last year, he had told the story that when Lutnick and his wife were given a tour of Epstein's home, Epstein made a lewd joke about owning a massage table, and that Lutnick said he and his wife quickly left the house and decided that they would never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. Okay? Keep that date in mind, 2005. So that's what he said. And then he later said, I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross, right? 2005. Well, now you have the New York Times analysis revealed that Lutnick's name appeared in more than 250 documents in the latest Epstein file release. According to the Times, documents show that the two men reached out to each other via email and also appear on each other's schedules. And there's a lot of suggestions of in-person meetings. On May 1st, 2011, 6 years after Lutnick said he wasn't in contact with Epstein anymore, Lutnick was scheduled to have drinks with Epstein and seemed to have his phone, left his phone behind in Epstein's house. It says, and then you have 2012. It seems like Lutnick went to Epstein's private island. So that's 7 years after that. There also, even a couple years after that, there was some kind of NIMBY thing where they Lutnick wanted to block a museum because, God forbid, there are people waiting to get into the museum on their sidewalk at Palm Beach. So he was enlisting Epstein's help to join his NIMBY campaign. So there's these. I don't think Lutnick's telling the truth, Jason.
Well, here's what I think is going to happen. I think Lutnick's going to call a press conference where he comes out and says, I did tell the truth. I was never alone with Epstein in a room again. There was always at least one underage trafficked girl there. It's the only way that his story holds up.
So Massey has come after him. Here's a video of Massey. I know there's a lot of Massey today, but he's doing a lot of work here for the rest of his caucus that doesn't want to engage on this kind of stuff. But this is Massey talking about Lutnick.
It solidified my decision. Look, the problem isn't that he went to Epstein Island. That's not a crime. It's not appropriate, I would say, to take your family to an island where people knew that bad things were happening. The problem is, how do you have confidence in the Secretary of Commerce who lied about it just recently? Like, that podcast wasn't that long ago. He lied about it recently, and then he was forced only when he was sworn in to give a truthful answer. And I think it's a matter of confidence in the people who are leading this country. And I don't have confidence in somebody who will lie like that.
House Speaker Mike Johnson.
Congressman Massey has said a lot of stuff that I really disagree with. He said stuff about abortion that I have a huge problem with. He said stuff about, at one point, I think he said stuff about Afghan refugees that I really have a problem with. But from the jacket that he wears to the way he wears his beard to the way he conducts himself politically, we could use more people who don't give a fuck I know there are listeners who try and listen to this show with their kids in the car, and I apologize, but I don't know another way to explain this sort of approach to serving in Congress. And I got to say, we could use more of it on both sides of the aisle. People who are just calling balls and strikes, and when they disagree with you, you have a confidence that it comes from a genuine ideological disagreement. When I was in the state legislature and I was dealing with people on the other side of the aisle, when they were, people who genuinely came from like super conservative religious backgrounds and really disagreed with me about certain issues because of that, I could work with those people on things like campaign reform and economic issues because we knew like we just don't agree on that thing. And there wasn't this other thing in the room of their political future that they had to, square or circle to figure out how to do. And they were good to work with. And Massey's that type where where you and he are never going to agree. So you engage in a good faith effort to find the areas where you can agree and make things better, which is how, the entire system of government that we live under was actually built to work. And it just needs more people like that.
Yeah. And Representative Comer was asked about what he's going to do about Lutnick. And he kind of paid some lip service to it, but he's like, we got more important hearings that take precedence right now. And he's talking about Bill and Hillary Clinton, who have not served in government for some time. But we're going to somehow let the current Commerce Secretary off here.
Yes, we have to get to the bottom of whether these former public officials told the truth about their relationship with
Hillary,
Epstein.
who's not even in the files, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't have time to find out whether the current member of the cabinet, was he Treasury, whether the current Secretary of Treasury lied about his relationship with Epstein.
Right.
Makes sense.
Right. Well, one more thing on this front, Representative Ro Khanna and Massey, they both have made the same point, but I was going to give Massey a break for the rest of this pod. Khanna has called into question whether Congress, who has access to more stuff than we do, they've been using, I think, 4 computers that the Department of Justice has given them access to, because of the law that they passed, the Transparency Act. He and Massey are both saying that they're receiving redacted copies still, even though the law requires them to receive unredacted copies. Let's go to this clip.
There are 2 different redactions that were going on. There's the original FBI redaction in March where Donald Trump's ordered the FBI to say, get this stuff cleaned up. Mm-hmm. And they were supposed to unscrub that based on our law. We knew that when we were drafting the law. We said, we want those FBI files. You can't be hiding those files. They didn't do that. And they just did a second round of redactions at the Justice Department. And what they're showing members now is the unredacted version of the Justice Department's redactions, not the original redactions. And so they're in blatant violation of the law.
So Congress passed a law saying you got to show us everything. And the Justice Department set up a room where you could walk in there like it's 1996 and you're going to do research on microfiche and just scrolling through old newspaper articles. I mean, it sounds like that's basically how they're allowing members of Congress to see it.
Yeah, and they're obviously not going out of their way to give them too much time to go through a gazillion documents. Like they're making it as difficult as they possibly can.
They're examining the Epstein files in the exact same way that I put together a debate case during my 5th hour debate class as a freshman in high school in the 90s. Like they're under a time limit and they have access to physical files that are not searchable for a certain period of time in a certain room.
Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some shenanigans with the jobs numbers, a bridge to Canada that might be blocked, and then a bunch of stories involving culture, like our Super Bowl and some unfortunate memes that the president shared about another former president when we get back.
Cookunity makes eating well effortless and rewarding, delivering chef-crafted meals straight to your door so you save time on planning and cooking while enjoying exceptional quality and value in every bite. Explore Cookunity's February menus and discover how chefs are redefining seasonal eating through food that nourishes, fuels, and inspires. My personal favorite has been the truffled fettuccine Alfredo with grilled chicken and Parmesan cheese by Chef Meena Srinivas. And you could seriously taste the freshness of those ingredients. And I was left in awe. I've been studying cooking over the past year. And these are incredible. And I love the variety that Cookunity has to offer. And this way you never really get bored. So you could choose from a rotating series of seasonal menus of over 300 meals, or let Cookunity's platform provide personalized recommendations. There are over 25 plus diets and cuisines, so you can always match your cravings with your wellness goals. In select cities, your meal delivery will come in an insulated bag that they'll pick up for you as part of their eco-friendly reusable bag program. Cook Unity has also commitment-free subscriptions that start as low as $11 a meal, skip deliveries, pause or cancel anytime. So taste comfort and craftsmanship in every bite from the award-winning chefs behind Cook Unity. Go to cookunity.com/majority54 or enter the code majority54 before checkout to get 50% off your first order. That's 50% off your first order by using the code majority54 or going to cookunity.com/majority54.
Starting something new isn't just hard, it's terrifying. So much work goes into this thing that you're not entirely sure will work out, and it can be hard to make that leap of faith. Trust me, I know. I've started a bunch of different things, a bunch of businesses, a bunch of podcasts, even some schools. And I often ask myself, what if I make a fool out of myself? What if no one buys any of my products? Now I know that I was right in believing myself and launching so many of those ventures, despite all the fears and hesitations. It also helps to know that you have a partner like Shopify on your side. And Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Alo Yoga to brands just getting started. And get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. So get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. Best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And what if you get stuck, you may ask? Shopify is always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/majority. Go to shopify.com/majority. That's shopify.com/majority.
All right. So Jason, we got a jobs report this morning, and it actually came in with some good news for the economy. So originally, what we were greeted with were the top line numbers for January. 130,000 jobs were added, which beat the expectation of 55,000 jobs. Employment ticked down to 4.3%. So it sounded good, and the market initially reacted by going up. And then it started going down. And I was like, well, what's going on here? It turns out that they made revisions to the numbers over the numbers that happened over the past year. And if you remember, the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, revises the numbers every year. And essentially what happens is they do surveys every month of employers, and then every so often they'll actually look at the quarterly tax reports that the employers file that actually say who did they actually employ. So they verify what the surveys were saying, and so that's why they revise the numbers. If you remember, that's why Trump fired the last Bureau of Labor Statistics person. He didn't like the idea of revisions. So, but needless to say, the revisions tell us a lot more than the initial numbers. And tucked into this report was news that the Bureau of Labor Statistics revised away 911,000 jobs from the 12-month period ending in March 2025. So what was reported as about 200,000 jobs a month was actually 120,000 jobs a month. And so the full year 2025 job growth was revised from 584,000 down to 185,000. And so essentially, the market is in a much more precarious place than we even thought before, which is why the market then started going down when that new information came out. It's now been going down and up. So who knows by the time people are listening to this, what it's done. And this is just, I think things can cut in a number of different directions, but I think this puts added pressure on the numbers we get tomorrow. We're going to get the CPI inflation numbers. And it's a complicated economic picture, no doubt.
So close to 1 million jobs that the Trump administration has been claiming existed all year, or all the past year, progressively over time, weren't really there, which was the heart of their argument for why things aren't as bad as they seem. And, stop talking about affordability. And so, okay.
Yeah, people, yeah. And I don't want to I want to be careful because this is an agency that probably has some semblance of it's being run by civil servants who because remember Trump was alleging that this revision process is nefarious. So I don't want to go and say, okay, now the same thing that the actual revisions are bad. Like,
you
I
don't
think
want to play into their narrative on it.
I think the fact of revisions is natural until we have any reason to think that there's politics being played with the revision. So I'll stipulate to that. But like you said, the reality of what we have learned, no matter the intent behind it, is that what was already a tough economy for Trump, where the polling numbers and how everybody else was feeling about it and the top line numbers were not good to begin with, is about 1 million jobs less good than the even bad news that we got before.
Well, what this says to me is that all of the people who have been expressing the idea in polls and other surveys that they think the economy is going poorly, and the Trump administration has been saying, no, look at these numbers. It turns out the people experiencing the economy had the right read.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about this Canadian bridge. So this is baffling in a lot of ways, but so is a lot that Trump does. But so he posts to Truth Social a couple days ago that he was going to block this bridge from opening. It's called the Gordie Howe Bridge that would connect Canada to the United States. Canada footed the entire bill for this bridge, Jason. And Trump had previously taken credit for it in his last administration because this has been going on for a while. And then he made this puzzling about face. And it turns out, this is from reporting from the New York Times, that one reason, Jason, why we might have gotten this about face is that on Monday, hours before Trump posted on Truth Social, a billionaire by the name of Matthew Maroon, who is an owner of another bridge connecting Michigan and Canada, had met with Howard Lutnick at the White House. This is essentially a competitor to this bridge. And I suspect there might be some campaign donations or other investments going on here, and or just a very impressionable Trump that could be at work here to undo a decade plus of work to get this bridge going. Now, who knows whether Trump follows through, but
Ravi, it's okay because any grift here and graft and corruption that's going on with this bridge is being done in a very transparent way.
Yeah.
and so it's the most transparently corrupt administration in history, and so everything is fine. Also, I love that we're introducing some new characters here. We've had Howard Lutnick, and now we got to bring in this aptly named evil billionaire Maroon.
It reminds me of R.K. Maroon. You remember R.K. Maroon from Jessica Rabbit? Yes. From the Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yeah. It tells you a lot about my psyche that I call it Jessica Rabbit. That's the impression she made on me as a kid.
Yes.
So I think of her as the star.
You got to be pretty. You got to be some kind of weird evil billionaire to even own a bridge. First of all, I mean, but on top of that, we also have this new character who could we come up with a less obvious name for a Canadian paid bridge than the Gordie Howe Bridge, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, Canada paid for the bridge, unlike Mexico and the wall. And Trump suddenly woke up talking about a bridge that I promise you he didn't wasn't thinking about the day before.
As absurd as this is, it's more evidence that nobody can trust anything that this country does anymore. And it's absolutely going to be so destructive long term because the damage will live well beyond Trump, even if we get sound governance after this. If we're lucky enough to get the most responsible government after this, they'll be sitting across from Carney. They'll be sitting across from Starmer or whoever else is across the pond. And Carney or whoever is going to sincerely look and be like, President AOC, President Newsom, President Mayor Pete, whatever. I hear you. I think you're very sincere. But I don't know what's going to come in 3 years when another lunatic is going to come rip this project up. Because the last time I paid for the entire thing, and you still cut my legs out from under me.
Meanwhile, cut to Howard Lutnick talking about how he's never been alone with that bridge.
Yeah,
ever.
He's a busy guy. It's funny. There's just like a couple of people that are really busy this week. Massey, Lutnick, Well, let's take one more break, Jason. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about Trump's even racist even by Trump's standards post, and then we'll talk about some dynamics heading into this next election cycle when we come back.
Look, magnesium is something most of us lack, and if you're taking the drugstore variant, you're still not getting the full picture. And industrial farming, chronic stress, and everyday aging makes it all worse. Almost every supplement uses one form of magnesium, but magnesium comes in many forms, and each form helps your health in a different way. That's exactly why you need to try Qualia Magnesium Plus. Most people know that magnesium is critical for sleep, but some forms help muscle recovery, brain function, heart health, bone health, mood, and over 300 other functions in the body. That's why Qualia Magnesium Plus is the only product to combine 10 bioavailable forms of magnesium with more than 70 trace minerals that help fuel magnesium support. It's full spectrum magnesium to deliver magnesium's full potential. Full body benefits include sleeping deeper, thinking sharper, recovering faster, supporting muscle strength, steadier mood and stress response, and better energy metabolism. And it's not just a sleep supplement. It's a full body magnesium system built for modern living to feel your best every day. And it's time to improve your sleep and enhance your recovery with Qualia Magnesium Plus. Qualia Magnesium Plus has helped me a ton. And I use it, and I've replaced, a sort of plethora of different supplements I was taking with it. And you can experience the most trusted magnesium for purity, potency, and performance. Plus, it's non-GMO, vegan and gluten friendly. If those are your things, making it a choice you can feel good about. So go to qualialife.com/majority for 50% off. And here's a bonus. If you use the code majority for an additional 15% off, you can get an additional 50% off your order. And that's QUALIA life.com/majority and use the code majority. Thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode.
Well, I don't know how much time we need to spend on this. I just want to make sure that we lay down a marker at how absolutely atrocious this post was that Trump made about the Obamas. And I'm sure people are familiar about it by this point, but he posted something that the biggest fringe racist in your community would post, like a post depicting the Obamas as apes.
Like if somebody with 17 consonants and numbers in their handle on Twitter put this in a reply to you, you would not even bother to take the time to block them because you'd be like, that's not a real person.
Yeah. And this gets to, we were told before this election that, it's Trump derangement syndrome to call him a fascist, to call him a racist or whatever. And we just get evidence, one piece after another, that he is all of those things. Like, he is all the things that the most leftist of the leftists accused him of being. And every day he finds unique ways to remind us of just whatever ism there is left out there. He's leaning right into it.
The posting of the racist video had everything that a Trump scandal is supposed to have, right? It had Trump being super duper racist. It had the possibility that because this was at the end of the video, that Trump actually didn't see it, but can't admit that. And so posted it, not realizing what was at the end of the video. That's possible. I mean, it wouldn't make him not racist, but it would mean in this case, he might not have actually seen it, but doesn't want to admit that he doesn't that he didn't, read that far into it. And also that he has no attention span. And then on top of that, it had the traditional Trump evasive, I'm never responsible for anything thing, where he won't apologize. He will blame it on a staffer, but he will not tell you that there's a staffer being fired, because there is no staffer. And if there was, that sort of racism is actually totally acceptable in the Trump administration. So it had everything.
Well, he apparently complained also about the Bad Bunny performance at the Super Bowl. Certainly there were right-wing people complaining nonstop about it. We have Congressman Randy Fine, who tweeted, I just sent a letter to Brendan Carr, FCC, so the chairman of the FCC, calling for a full and immediate investigation into the Bad Bunny halftime show. In America, our laws are not suggestions, and no matter what foreign language you speak, you must comply. What law is he talking about that would be violated here?
I'm pretty sure that the point of what Randy Fine is doing here is for us to learn about the existence of a member of Congress named Randy Fine.
Yes.
And fine work, Randy. You did it.
I didn't see I've seen clips of the performance. You know, I as a Bills fan, it's like Jews on Christmas. Like when the Super Bowl happens, we have our own ritual around
you go to a
taking
Chinese
ourselves out of the
restaurant?
conversation.
You
Yeah,
go to a Chinese restaurant and talk about family?
yeah. My dad was in town in New Orleans, and he was in town all day. I picked the exact time of the Super Bowl to meet him, but I had one eye on the score because you and I are united in this. I imagine the most important thing was the outcome that we had, which was that the New England Patriots lost. And
Absolutely.
I think all but one section of the country can agree with me on that.
Yeah,
And
me, and Bill Belichick apparently all agree.
yes. Well, okay. I don't want to tread on some controversial topics. You and I have on a different sports pod talked about the rather puzzling relationship that he's in. One thing I do appreciate from said young lady is this T-shirt she wore somewhere in public at some event this week.
I think it was at the Super Bowl, dude.
Was it really?
I think it might have been. I don't know.
Wherever it was, she wore a shirt. This is really taking us out of this, but I just appreciate it. Is she wore a shirt of the spa, in quotes, that the owner of the Patriots attended when he was busted in a prostitution ring, which is, that is that people can have their opinions about that relationship, but good for her for calling out Robert Kraft, who also seemed to be behind sinking Belichick's Hall of Fame.
I looked it up. It was at the UNC Duke basketball game.
There you go. But great, good for her.
I mean, it was pretty expert trolling. I mean, while you're standing next to Bill Belichick. So,
yeah, I was reminded this year that in the end, I hate the Patriots more than any other sports team in America, and I hate them so much that I now defend former Patriots who are at odds with the Patriots. So I love, but enemy of your enemy is your friend. So now I like Belichick because he doesn't like the owner of the Patriots. It's convoluted, but this is where I am right now.
Belichick is he's the what's the mustache guy? What's his name? Who got indicted? The national security.
Oh,
advisor.
Bolton. He's our Bolton.
Belichick is the Bolton of football for us.
He's our John Bolton. Not so good news, Jason. Democrats have about $100 million cash disadvantage in the committees. There was this reporting from Teddy Schleifer looking at the RNC. So that's just the 100 million DNC versus RNC. And then if you look at the D-TRIP and the DSCC, you can add more to that. Essentially, the Republicans have done two things. One is they have intimidated business leaders away from donating to Democrats because they've been leveraging every facet of the government to punish anybody who doesn't align with their politics. And two is they've been sucking up to tech companies, AI, crypto, and shoveling in tons of cash into their coffers because of those relationships. And so that's not a good picture as we head towards the midterm elections. On the plus side, some of our candidates are doing really well in their individual campaigns, but this is not good. I mean, there's no way to spin it. It's not a good dynamic.
It's not good. It's also not unexpected. There's basically three kinds of donors. You know this. The listeners may not. There's, friends and family type donors, people who have a personal connection to something that doesn't apply quite as much when you talk about these committees. But there are two others that definitely do. Those are ideological donors and access donors. And when you are the party out of power, you simply get less support from access donors. Those are the donors who give money because they want to be able to pick up the phone and call whoever they want to, they need to call. And when you don't have any branch of government, you're going to get less of those dollars. However, as we get closer to the election, and it looks more and more like Democrats are going to take at least the House and possibly be in a real position in the Senate, if not, maybe take it. You're going to see more of those access donors. This is cynical and sad, but this is how it works, are going to hedge their bets and start to give to both sides. And then I think you're going to see an uptick in the ideological donors as well as we get closer. So I don't know if it'll totally close, but all I know is I'd rather be us than them with regard to the election right now.
Yeah, and I was in the past few weeks. I don't think it was in this past week. It might have been the week before. Litigation in New York might have unlocked my home district in Staten Island. because of a case challenging the racial makeup of that district. Now, there's all kinds of things that could happen, but there's at least a possibility that Maliotakis's district, the one that Max Rose used to hold, could tip back into a swing district or even a lean blue. So that would be great. And that's outside of the process in New York, which had to take 2 cycles because of the Constitution in New York. It would require a redistrict. So we'll see what happens there. A couple other quick things here. The feds failed to get an indictment from a grand jury against Senator Kelly, Slotkin, et cetera, because of this case that the Justice Department was bringing against, or Hegseth was at the forefront of, but the Justice Department bring because the Democratic lawmakers told people within the national security apparatus that they don't have to follow an illegal order. They failed to get an indictment. I thought there was this helpful tweet from Aaron Blake. He said that in fiscal year 2013, federal grand juries rejected indictments in just 5 times out of 165,000 cases. So he's saying, like, just in a typical year, that's the kind of how rare it is. 5 out of 165,000.
Leave this up, Jeremy, because to read the rest of it, grand juries have now rejected Trump administration indictments for one of the 3 Comey charges, the sandwich guy, if people remember that, several other protesters, Letitia James again, and 6 congressional Democrats.
Yeah.
So not everybody, I think, knows what a grand jury is. So I think it's important for folks to understand. This is not a jury that is deciding guilt or innocence. This is a group of people who are impaneled, usually for a period for as long as 18 months. They're just called in occasionally. And the prosecutor walks in, and the defense attorneys are not there. And the prosecutor walks in. There's no rules of evidence. There's no judge. There's nobody sitting there saying, hey, you got to lay foundation for this before you do this testimony. They just sit in a room, and they bring in somebody, and they're like, hey, tell them everything you told me. And they can do hearsay, they can speculate. And at the end of that, the grand jury's like, yeah, the prosecutor, from what the prosecutor told us, from the prosecutor's point of view, it sounds like there's a chance that there was a crime here. So we're going to go ahead and say, yeah, it's an indictment. And they just come in and they do this over and over and over.
It's a rubber stamp.
It's a rubber stamp. And most people who serve on a grand jury, it is rare you will find someone who served on a grand jury who had the experience of all the cases that came before them, of them saying, no, you cannot charge. We will not indict. So that's the first thing, is that is the situation in which they are failing to get a grand jury to indict in all of these cases. That's a big deal. Second thing about this is that we have to revisit this video that Kelly and the others made, because it has been portrayed as them saying that they want members of the military to disobey orders. And even for those who are not portraying it that way, it's being portrayed as them saying to, like, everybody in the military that if you're given an illegal order, you need to disobey it. And the truth is that Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin and everybody else and Jason Crow, they're not talking to the corporal on the corner in, Minneapolis or in, Venezuela, or God forbid, Iran, if we go that direction. That's not who they're talking to, because by the time an illegal order has gotten to them, it has nothing to do probably with this president. If it is a direct order for them, they're talking to the couple hundred people who at the beginning of this administration were brought into a room with Hegseth and Trump and told that nobody's going to be allowed to wear beards anymore, because that's the audience. That's the first line of defense. And those are the generals, and maybe in some cases, some colonels and high-ranking billets who are going to be given the order that is illegal, and who we really, truly expect to disobey that illegal order, because they've had the most extensive professional training to know when that order is legal and when that order is illegal. And the reason that video is so important is because that is members of Congress saying that when that moment comes, if it comes for you, and you know that if you do this, you are going to be hung out to dry by everybody in the Trump administration, that you're going to be potentially put on trial, and that at a minimum, your career is going to be over and your professional life and reputation may be ruined. It's important for them to know that there are also powerful people in Congress who will go to bat for them and go crazy and haul people before Congress and say that this is wrong to try to defend them. Because if they don't know that, it is frankly a lot harder to have the moral courage to do the thing that you know is right. And that's why that video was so important.
Well, and it's actually a scandal that they even tried to get a this is an absolute scandal. So
huge intimidation.
Well, we don't have time to talk at this at length, and actually we'll know a lot more Friday, but we have the deadline coming up Friday over this DHS funding that was spun out of the funding fight that we've been talking about over the past few weeks. So we will know more after Friday whether we've crossed the line where the Department of Homeland Security is operating without funding. And unfortunately, it seems like ICE and CBP and some of these places are not going to be that much impacted because of the one big beautiful bill and that funding. So it will be things like TSA and FEMA and things like that that will be impacted. And so we'll talk more about this next week if we cross that threshold and what the politics of blame will be in that situation. But let's do one for us, Jason. You said you had something you wanted to play for us.
Yes, so people will enjoy this, particularly if you're watching, but if you're listening, you can still get it because it's still going to be pretty funny. So my friend Jake Zimmerman from St. Louis County, so Jake and I served long ago in the state legislature together. He has for the past several years been the elected St. Louis County assessor, and he's currently running for county executive in St. Louis County. And I just think people will enjoy this ad. It's a good example of it's a TV ad that is self-deprecating and is very natural and is funny. And to paint the picture for those who are going to listen, there's several pictures of Jake in here when he's talking about himself, where you see that Jake is not a cool guy. Like he's a great guy. He's a great guy, but Jake is, I wouldn't describe Jake as like the most naturally athletic person or anything like that. He's got big glasses and bright red hair. And he's a Jewish kid who grew up in St. Louis, probably not playing sports, but almost certainly doing Model UN. And he knows exactly who he is. And that's what I love about this ad. So please enjoy this.
Look, this video won't be fancy. It won't be slick, but it is going to tell the truth. St. Louis County politics turned into a clown car. Steve Stenger ran on cleaning up government, but played video games in his actual executive office, then was hauled off by the FBI. Game over, Steve. Then came Sam Page, the picture of political dysfunction. 6 out of 7 council members refused to work with him. While they're all busy fighting, what gets done for you? Nothing. Zippo. Zilch. What the hell, St. Louis County? We're the home of John Goodman, Nellie, and Mary Engelbright. We used to be a beacon for 1,000 miles in every direction. And now, incompetence and dysfunction at every level. You deserve better. And yeah, that's where I come in. I'm Jake Zimmerman. I'm running for county executive. I'm not flashy. I'm not cool. I don't have much aura. I don't even know what that is. But I am reliable. And I do know this. You can count on me to get things done and make every penny of your money count. As your St. Louis County assessor, I stopped casinos from getting massive tax breaks that would have gutted school funding. I busted wealthy developers dodging taxes with fake loopholes. Because when the powerful don't pay their fair share, you get stuck with the bill. And my office, it's been called a model of respectful competence. Now, wouldn't that be refreshing? So let's get back to basics. Safer communities, quality services, and a government that makes life more affordable. You deserve a county executive focused on you, who will fight to make your life better. No drama, no headlines, just results. I'm Jake Zimmerman. Reassuringly nerdy. That's who I am. And that's why I'm running.
I love that ad so much, mostly for the way it ends, reassuringly nerdy. And I wonder if that's not, I don't know if we need to go that far, but I wonder if that's not a little bit of how Democrats should end up running in 28.
Well, that's why, that's why I like my boy Jared Polis, Right. That's what I like about Polis.
It's like, it's like, hey, you actually remember you want the nerds to do some things, and this is the thing you want us to do. I mean, I just love reassuringly nerdy.
He reminds me
So
of Carl
great.
Dean, who ran for mayor. He was two-term mayor of Nashville. He wasn't like nerdy, but he was an introvert, and it was part of his appeal. Like, I think people liked the fact that he wasn't all in your face. Well, awesome. I don't have much to report new other than for folks. I mentioned it last time that I'm rebooting this fitness community that I've been running. We do it every year. We do a season throughout the year where we form teams and then we compete against each other in tracking healthy habits. You've done it. Your wife's done it. A lot of our listeners have done it. It's called Squadra, and you compete by doing pretty manageable, healthy things: lifting weights, doing cardio, walking, eating right. And we're about to launch our new season, so folks can join now. We're accepting people on a rolling basis, so you can go to joinsquadra.com, joinsquadra.com. It's for people of all ability levels. So we've had people in their 70s, and then we've had people in their prime athletic years in their early 20s. And so we've even had JD Schulten, who, former professional athlete, and then we've had, grandmothers from Grand Rapids. So you can join squadra.com. We'll accept people on a rolling basis. And you can check that out. So that's all I got today.
Fully endorse. Totally agree. All right. Thanks, everybody. You can find Ravi at Ravi M. Gupta everywhere. You can find me at Jason Kander everywhere. Please leave a 5-star review. Thank you to the Midas Mighty. Remember, we all have a platform. Make sure to use yours today.